Some bad news for you, PuraTHRIVE crew. There's not a magic pill for weight loss. But the cool thing is, there's a lot of research that's starting to show that good old vitamin D3, yes, the sunlight hormone, might play a key role in reducing belly fat. Now hear me out on this, because it's still in research, but it's starting to look pretty promising. I thought you'd want to be on the front end of what's emerging in the world of science, health, and weight loss. So what vitamin D is, first and foremost, is a fat-soluble vitamin, okay? It's a fat-soluble vitamin that helps regulate mood, it can help regulate metabolism, and most importantly, it regulates where calcium goes in the body. But because it's fat-soluble, it means that it's stored in the fat cell. Now, start thinking about this. If you have an excess amount of fat, or if you're overweight, well, that means that most of the vitamin D that you consume, even if you're taking a supplement, is going to get sequestered into those fat cells and it's going to stay there, meaning you have less bioactively available vitamin D3 to do the cool things that I'm about to explain. But let's talk about how vitamin D3 actually burns fat. The first method is by increasing something called leptin. Now, have you ever eaten food before and gotten full? If you haven't, you're probably not human. Because honestly, what happens is leptin signals your brain that you're full. When you eat a lot of food, you have the production of leptin, signals your brain that you're full, and you stop eating. Problem is that without vitamin D3, leptin levels don't generally increase that much. So if you have enough D3, your brain can signal and your brain can be told you need to stop eating. It's that simple. But low levels of vitamin D3, those leptin levels don't get too high and you can keep eating, making it very easy to overeat. Now remember what I said about the vitamin D3 getting stored in fat cells? So think about this. If you already are low in D3 and then you eat and you don't have enough leptin so you keep eating more, well then you're going to develop more fat cells, which means you're going to hold on to more vitamin D in the fat cells and more to the point where you have this snowball effect where you continue to store fat. Are you one of those people that have just looked in the mirror and said, how did this happen to me? Honestly, I was one of those people 7 or 8 years ago. Okay, now the other way that vitamin D3 is proving to potentially be a good belly fat burner is through the modulation of the parathyroid and calcitriol hormones. You see, the parathyroid is a small set of glands around the thyroid in our throat. And basically when they produce parathyroid or when they produce calcitriol, we have a rapid increase in how our body stores fat. It tends to want to store it more. Now, if we have enough vitamin D3, the parathyroid and calcitriol hormones aren't quite as crazy. They're not going quite as haywire, which means your body slowly stores and slowly metabolizes fat versus doing it rapidly, making it where you look in the mirror and feel like it happened overnight. So those are the two main reasons that vitamin D3 is starting to play a big role in belly fat, but this wouldn't be a traditional video of mine if I didn't at least reference one peer-reviewed, double-blind placebo study. Okay, one study took 218 women. Okay, these 218 women, they gave a strict diet and exercise program to, and they asked them to follow it for a year. Okay, then they took half of these women and they gave them vitamin D. The other half of the women, they gave a placebo. Well, after 1 year of time, it was found that the women that took the vitamin D had on average 7 pounds more weight loss than those that didn't take the vitamin D. It doesn't sound like much, but just by adding vitamin D, it's pretty dang interesting. But then there's one other study. There's another study that found that those that were taking vitamin D3 had a better waist to hip ratio than those that were not. So what I can hypothesize from these two studies is that potentially vitamin D could be a link between weight loss being somewhat site-specific to the belly fat area. Now, it's not the end-all be-all, and there is a lot more science and a lot more research that needs to be conducted. But in general, we're heading the right direction. So as always, keep it locked in here with PuraTHRIVE, and remember, for the D3 that's actually going to get absorbed with the MK7 version of K2, yes, that fancy science, you always want to make sure you're checking out PuraTHRIVE's D3 combo. Because when it comes down to it, we have to absorb what we're taking in. Otherwise, we're just flushing our money down the toilet, almost literally. I'll see you in the next video.